Boundaries are not walls, they are bridges to healthier relationships, personal peace, and self-respect. Too often, we misunderstand boundaries as a form of rejection or isolation. But in truth, boundaries are a profound act of love both for ourselves and for those around us. They communicate where we end and others begin, providing clarity and mutual respect in a world that constantly demands our attention, energy, and emotional bandwidth. Think about this. When was the last time you said yes to something, even though every fiber of your being wanted to say no? How did it feel afterward? Exhausting, resentful, overwhelming? This is what happens when we fail to set and uphold our boundaries. We let people, circumstances, and even our own insecurities dictate our lives, leaving us drained and disconnected from our true selves. Boundaries are a declaration of worthiness. They say, I value myself enough to protect my time, energy, and emotions, but they also say, I value you enough to be honest about what I can and cannot give. Boundaries are not about shutting people out. They are about inviting people in on terms that honor both sides. When we lack boundaries, we often become enmeshed in situations that don't serve us. We overcommit, overperform, and overextend ourselves in ways that erode our sense of well-being. But when we establish clear limits, something remarkable happens. We create space. Space for healing, space for creativity, space for relationships that truly nurture us. Here's the truth: not everyone will appreciate your boundaries. Some may feel rejected, confused, or even offended, but their reaction is not your responsibility. Upholding boundaries is not about controlling how others feel, it's about protecting your own peace. And sometimes that peace will require you to ghost the expectations, demands, and even the people who consistently overstep your boundaries. The beauty of boundaries lies in their ability to foster healthier, more authentic connections. When we are clear about our needs and communicate them openly, we give others permission to do the same. In this way, boundaries don't just serve us, they uplift everyone involved. They set a standard of respect that ripples outward, encouraging others to prioritize their well-being as well. So as you reflect on your life, ask yourself, where do I need to set firmer boundaries? What relationships or commitments are depleting me instead of nurturing me? And most importantly, how can I begin to honor myself by saying no when I mean it and yes only when it feels aligned? Boundaries are not easy. They require courage, vulnerability, and sometimes the willingness to walk away from what no longer serves you. But in doing so, you create a life that is truly yours, a life where you are no longer at the mercy of others' expectations, but are guided by your own inner truth. It's time to recognize the power of boundaries and use them as a tool for liberation. Because when you honor your boundaries, you honor yourself. And there is no greater act of self-love than that. Choosing yourself is one of the most radical acts of courage you can ever undertake. In a world that often rewards self-sacrifice, people-pleasing, and relentless productivity, prioritizing your own needs and well-being can feel selfish or even rebellious. But it's not. Choosing yourself is an act of profound bravery because it requires you to face the fear of disappointing others, the discomfort of going against societal norms, and the vulnerability of standing in your truth. When we talk about choosing yourself, it's not about disregarding the needs of others or living in isolation. It's about recognizing that you cannot pour from an empty cup. It's about understanding that your happiness, your health, and your fulfillment matter not just for you, but for everyone you interact with. When you are whole, you show up as your best self in every aspect of your life. But let's be honest, choosing yourself is not easy. It often means making hard decisions. It means saying no to relationships, commitments, or opportunities that no longer serve you, even if they once brought you joy. It means walking away from toxic environments, even when the thought of leaving feels terrifying. And it means trusting that by letting go of what is weighing you down, you create space for something better to come into your life. Why does this take courage? Because choosing yourself goes against so much of what we are taught. From an early age, many of us are conditioned to put others first, to seek validation from external sources, and to equate our worth with how much we can give or achieve. The idea of stepping back, of prioritizing ourselves, feels like breaking a rule we didn't even know existed. There's also the fear of judgment. What will people think if you start setting boundaries, saying no, or prioritizing your well-being? Will they call you selfish? Will they be angry or hurt? These are valid fears. But here's the truth: that people who genuinely care about you will respect your decision to choose yourself. And those who don't, they were never truly in your corner. Choosing yourself requires you to listen to your inner voice, the one that often gets drowned out by the noise of external expectations. It's about reconnecting with your intuition and allowing it to guide your decisions. It means asking yourself questions like, what do I need right now? What brings me joy? What drains my energy? And then having the courage to act on those answers, even when it's uncomfortable. This kind of courage doesn't happen overnight. It's a practice, a muscle you build over time. It starts with small steps, declining an invitation that doesn't feel right, taking time for rest, even when there's a long to-do list, or speaking up when something doesn't align with your values. With each step, you build confidence in your ability to honor yourself. And here's the most beautiful part: when you choose yourself, you inspire others to do the same. You give them permission to prioritize their own needs and live authentically. In this way, your courage becomes contagious, creating a ripple effect of empowerment and self-respect. So ask yourself, what would it look like to truly choose yourself? What relationships, habits, or mindsets do you need to release? What dreams have you been putting on hold? And most importantly, are you ready to embrace the courage it takes to live a life that is authentically and unapologetically yours? Choosing yourself is not a one-time decision, it's a lifelong commitment. It's a promise to show up for yourself every day, to honor your needs, and to live in alignment with your truth. It's not always easy, but it is always worth it. Because when you choose yourself, you step into your power. And there is nothing more courageous than that. In our fast-paced, noisy world, silence is often misunderstood. We avoid it, fearing it might feel awkward, lonely, or unproductive. Yet silence holds immense power. It is not merely the absence of sound, it is the presence of clarity. It is in the stillness, away from the constant hum of distractions, that we can truly hear the whispers of our inner selves. Think about the world we live in today. We are bombarded by notifications, surrounded by endless chatter, and caught in the cycle of multitasking. We scroll through social media, consume news at a relentless pace, and jump from one obligation to the next without pausing. All this noise, both external and internal, clouds our judgment, drowns out our intuition, and leaves us feeling disconnected from what really matters. Silence offers a powerful antidote. It creates a space for reflection, self-awareness, and insight. It allows us to step away from the chaos and reconnect with our inner truth. Silence is where clarity is born. But why is silence so effective? First, it removes distractions. When we are constantly stimulated, our minds rarely have the opportunity to rest or reset. Silence creates a sanctuary where our thoughts can settle and our emotions can surface. It gives us the chance to process what we've been avoiding and to make sense of our experiences. Silence also strengthens our relationship with ourselves. In the absence of external noise, we are forced to confront what lies within us, our fears, desires, dreams, and doubts. This can be uncomfortable at first. But it is through this discomfort that we grow. Silence teaches us to trust our intuition and listen to the wisdom that resides within us. Moreover, silence fosters creativity and problem solving. Have you ever noticed that your best ideas come to you in the shower, during a quiet walk, or as you drift off to sleep? That's the power of silence at work. When our minds are not preoccupied with endless input, they have the freedom to explore new perspectives and solutions. Practicing silence doesn't mean retreating to a monastery or spending hours in meditation, though those can be powerful experiences. It can be as simple as setting aside moments in your day to disconnect. Turn off your phone. Close your laptop. Sit quietly with your thoughts. Go for a walk in nature without headphones. These small acts of intentional silence can make a profound difference. It's important to note that silence is not synonymous with isolation or avoidance. It's not about cutting yourself off from the world indefinitely. Rather, it's about creating a balance or rhythm that includes moments of stillness amid the noise. One of the greatest lessons silence teaches us is that we don't always need to react. Not every question requires an immediate answer. Not every situation demands a response. In silence, we learn the value of patience and the wisdom of waiting. We realize that clarity often emerges when we give ourselves the time and space to simply be. Silence also transforms our relationships. When we embrace silence, we become better listeners both to ourselves and to others. We no longer feel the need to fill every gap with words. We begin to appreciate the depth and meaning that can be found in quiet moments shared with someone else. So how can we embrace silence as a tool for clarity in our lives? Start small. Dedicate a few minutes each day to quiet reflection. Use silence as a way to check in with yourself. How are you feeling? What do you need? What's really important right now? Over time, you'll find that these moments of stillness become a source of strength and insight. In a world that celebrates noise, choosing silence is a radical act. It requires courage to step away from the distractions and listen to your inner voice. But in doing so, you reclaim your power. You gain clarity about who you are, what you want, and how you wish to move forward. Silence is not empty, it is full of possibility. It is the place where you rediscover yourself and align with your truth. Embrace it, and you will find that clarity and peace are closer than you ever imagined. Obligation is a powerful force that shapes much of our lives. From a young age, we are taught to prioritize duty to our families, our jobs, our communities, and even societal expectations. While responsibilities and commitments have their place, there is a dangerous side to obligation, the myths that tell us we must always put others first, that saying no is selfish, and that our worth is tied to how much we do for others. These myths can trap us in a cycle of overcommitment, guilt, and resentment, keeping us from living authentically and prioritizing our own needs. Let's begin by unpacking the most pervasive myth, the belief that we owe everyone a yes, whether it's an invitation, a favor, or even a relationship. We often feel compelled to agree out of fear of disappointing others or being perceived as rude. But the truth is, saying yes to everything often means saying no to ourselves. Every time we agree to something that doesn't align with our values or capacity, we sacrifice time, energy, and emotional well-being that could be invested in what truly matters. Another common myth is that obligations define our worth. This belief tells us that the more we give, the more valuable we are. It's why we overextend ourselves, taking on extra tasks at work, staying in toxic relationships, or constantly prioritizing others' needs above our own. But worth is not measured by how much you sacrifice or how many people you please. True worth comes from recognizing and honoring your intrinsic value, not from endlessly proving it to others. Obligation also creates a false sense of permanence in relationships and commitments. We tell ourselves that once we've said yes, we're bound forever. This can lead to staying in unhealthy situations far longer than we should. But life is fluid, and so are our obligations. It's okay to reevaluate and change course when something no longer serves you. Guilt often serves as the enforcer of these myths. When we even consider stepping back from an obligation, guilt whispers that we are letting someone down or being selfish. However, guilt is not always a reliable compass. It often stems from internalized expectations rather than genuine wrongdoing. Recognizing this can help us distinguish between what we should do and what we choose to do. So how do we break free from the myths of obligation? It starts with redefining what obligation means to us. Instead of seeing it as an unbreakable contract, we can view it as a conscious choice. Obligations should align with our values, capacity, and priorities, not be driven by fear, guilt, or societal pressure. Learning to say no is a crucial skill in this process. Saying no is not a rejection of others, but an affirmation of your own needs and boundaries. It's a way of ensuring that your yes carries weight and authenticity. When you do choose to commit, it will be from a place of genuine willingness rather than reluctant duty. It's also essential to practice self-compassion. Breaking free from these myths can feel uncomfortable, especially if you've spent years operating under their influence. You might face pushback from others who are used to your overgiving. But remember, prioritizing yourself is not an act of selfishness, it is an act of self-respect. Releasing the myths of obligation doesn't mean abandoning your responsibilities. It means approaching them with intention and balance. It's about recognizing that you cannot pour from an empty cup and that your well-being is just as important as anyone else's. When we free ourselves from the myths of obligation, we open the door to a life of authenticity and fulfillment. We begin to make decisions based on what feels right for us, not what we feel forced to do. And in doing so, we model for others the importance of living true to oneself. So ask yourself what obligations in your life feel heavy, draining, or misaligned. What myths are you clinging to that no longer serve you? And most importantly, are you ready to let go of those myths and reclaim your right to live a life of choice, not compulsion? Breaking free from obligation is not about shirking responsibility, it's about embracing freedom. It's about stepping into your power and living a life that is guided by your values, not by myths. And in doing so, you not only honor yourself, but also inspire others to do the same. Energy is one of the most precious resources we possess. It is the driving force behind everything we do, our work, our relationships, our creativity, and our sense of well-being. Yet in the rush of daily life, it's easy to neglect or drain our energy without even realizing it. Whether it's through overcommitting, staying in unhealthy situations, or failing to set boundaries, we often give our energy away to people, tasks, or environments that leave us feeling depleted, frustrated, and disconnected from our true selves. Reclaiming your energy starts with recognizing where it's being lost. Think of your energy like water in a cup. If you pour it out constantly without refilling it, eventually the cup will be empty. The first step in reclaiming your energy is identifying what drains you. Is it a relationship that consistently leaves you feeling exhausted or unappreciated? Is it a job or commitment that no longer aligns with your values? Or perhaps it's the constant barrage of digital distractions that steal your attention and focus. We live in a world that often encourages overwork, multitasking, and constant doing. There's a pervasive message that to be worthy, we must always be busy, always available, always on. But the truth is that when we are constantly giving our energy away without pause, we end up running on empty. We lose touch with our core selves, our passions, and our ability to engage with life fully. One of the most effective ways to reclaim your energy is by learning the art of saying no to the things, people, and obligations that drain you. No to the requests that feel like burdens, and yes to the things that restore and nourish you. Saying no is not about being selfish, it is about recognizing your limits and respecting your needs. Every time you say no to something that doesn't serve you, you create space for something that does. But reclaiming energy isn't just about saying no, it's also about saying yes to yourself. It's about doing the things that fuel you, that light you up, and that help you recharge. This could be spending time with loved ones who lift you up, engaging in a creative project that excites you, or simply taking time for rest and solitude. Your energy thrives in environments and activities that nurture you, so intentionally seek them out and prioritize them. Another powerful way to reclaim your energy is by setting boundaries. Boundaries act as the guardrails that protect your energy from being siphoned off by others. They help you define where you end and others begin, making it clear when your time and emotional resources are being overextended. Setting boundaries isn't about cutting people off or being rigid, it's about respecting your own needs and communicating them clearly. When you establish healthy boundaries, you preserve your energy for the things that matter most. Reclaiming your energy also involves letting go of what no longer serves you. This could mean releasing toxic relationships, unhealthy habits, or outdated beliefs that drain your vitality. When you hold on to things that no longer fit or support your growth, you are holding on to emotional baggage that weighs you down. Releasing these things creates space for new positive energy to flow into your life. Taking care of your body is another crucial component in reclaiming your energy. Physical health and energy are deeply interconnected. Eating nourishing foods, getting adequate sleep, and engaging in regular movement all contribute to your overall vitality. Your body is the vessel through which your energy flows, and treating it with care is a vital part of restoring and replenishing your energy reserves. Mental and emotional health are equally important in reclaiming energy. The mind has a powerful influence on how we feel physically and emotionally. Negative thought patterns, stress, and unresolved emotions can drain your energy just as much as physical exertion. Practicing mindfulness, journaling, or seeking therapy can help you process and release these mental and emotional blockages. When you free yourself from mental clutter, your energy can flow more freely. Finally, reclaiming your energy requires regular periods of rest and stillness. In a culture that glorifies constant doing, taking time to pause and recharge is often seen as unproductive. But rest is not a luxury, it is a necessity. It allows your body and mind to recover, restore, and regenerate. This could be as simple as taking a nap, going on a walk in nature, or practicing meditation. Without regular rest, we deplete ourselves, and without replenishment, we cannot continue to give our best. Reclaiming your energy is an ongoing practice. It requires constant awareness of where your energy is going and a commitment to redirecting it toward what nourishes and strengthens you. By setting boundaries, prioritizing self-care, and eliminating what drains you, you can restore your vitality and create a life that feels aligned, balanced, and energizing. Your inner voice is the quiet yet profound guide within you that has always been present. It is the voice of your intuition, your values, and your deepest truths. Yet in the noise of everyday life through societal pressures, the expectations of others, and the constant chatter of self-doubt, this inner voice often becomes drowned out. We begin to rely more on external validation, opinions, and prescribed paths, losing touch with the wisdom that resides within. Rediscovering your inner voice is about reclaiming that authentic connection to yourself, a connection that is never truly left but has been buried under layers of conditioning, fear, and distraction. The first step in rediscovering your inner voice is quieting the external noise. In today's world, we are constantly surrounded by information, opinions, and stimuli that pull us in every direction. We are conditioned to seek answers from external sources, whether it's social media, the opinions of family and friends, or even authority figures in our lives. While it's valuable to consider different perspectives, constantly seeking approval or advice from the outside world can make it difficult to hear your own truth. Quieting the noise around you creates space for your inner voice to be heard. This doesn't necessarily mean complete isolation or silence. It can be as simple as setting boundaries around the information and inputs you allow into your life. And limiting time on social media, taking breaks from constant news consumption, and creating moments of solitude where you can sit with your thoughts are all powerful ways to reconnect with yourself. When you stop looking outside for answers, you create room to hear the gentle whispers of your own heart. Another key aspect of rediscovering your inner voice is learning to trust it again. So often, we ignore or dismiss our inner wisdom in favor of logic, fear, or the opinions of others. But your inner voice knows what is right for you, even when it doesn't fit neatly into societal norms or expectations. The more you listen to it and act on its guidance, the stronger it becomes. Each time you honor your intuition, you reinforce your ability to trust yourself, and your inner voice becomes more distinct and clear.